Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian whistleblower, and here, as always, on Wednesday, except for lately, with my good friend Arwayne Steiger. And we were just discussing a very interesting guest that Wayne had, but had an issue with the file. You were talking about a lady that seems to be connected to beings on the next level, Wayne.
Yeah, and she actually has a YouTube channel, and we did this lovely interview. And her name is Sylvia Ivanowa, Ivanowa, and she does have her own YouTube channel. But she she sees our past as a different history than what we've been taught. As she has been shown, we go back way back. I mean, we go back millions and millions of years. But the point that she was telling me, she has astral travels outside the body. And she lived in India for a period of time. And she said in the area where she was at, there was a temple there. And she said it had a great energy to it. She really liked it. And one day, as she walked towards this temple, she was immediately in the astral realm. And the two deities revealed themselves. They were sitting at the top of the spire of this temple, and they took the form of dragons. And she said the thing was, they were beautiful, beautiful creatures.
Wow.
She says that dragons used to rule this world. There was a they were, and they may still be here. Who knows? But she said there was a time they were very wise, and so she said, and I wrote this down.
And you're sure she's on the level?
Oh yes. Everyone can go out and check it out. So she said the dragons, when she began to talk to them, she was asking them questions. And this is what the dragon.
Did they see her, Wayne?
Yes, they did. And they said, we cannot answer your question the way it should be answered because you do not understand. If we were to give you the answer, it wouldn't make sense to you. And she said, that's the struggle that where we are right now. So when I looked at that, I just thought, Jeff, there's so much being revealed. I saw your video on the ape, half ape, half ape.
Yeah,
half
the humanity. Isn't that the craziest thing?
I mean, and that was in the 1920s, right?
You hope it wasn't true, but I mean, this guy from Emory University, great credentials. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, things are definitely different.
And
So,
Wayne, what if they really didn't euthanize that thing? What if it's been out there and it's reproduced and et cetera, et cetera?
yeah,
Maybe Planet of the Apes wasn't such a reach, right?
gives you that whole idea about Hollywood. I keep on asking myself, so where do these writers get these? I mean, are they like, do they have this secret society, Jeffrey, that says, well, we meet every Sunday at the full moon on such and such?
Wayne,
Because
do you write much?
I do, I write a lot.
Well, you know how it is. If you're a
Yeah,
writer,
yeah,
you're always looking for ideas. And I think that when the powers that be have plans, these plans are floating around in the ether. And I think
yeah,
many times, or at least sometimes, when creative people, be they writers for television, be they writers for movie, be they writers for books or comic books or whatever, sometimes they will catch some of these things floating through the ether, and they'll grab it and say, hey, that sounds like a great TV show. That sounds like a great movie.
yeah.
Lo and behold, they're grabbing onto possibly some plans for the future. And Sterling over in Osaka, Japan, says the human ape thing is only the tip of the iceberg. And I did see a follow-up on Drudge Report today that said their next plan is for mating with a great ape.
What?
That's what it said on Drudge Report, which is very, very reliable.
Yeah, no. I mean, it. So what's going on here? I mean, you and I were talking right before we went live on the new Stars series called Counterparts.
I missed that, but I did binge watch the whole season of Westworld the other day.
How was that?
Fantastic.
Is Sophia in there? Or at least the
Maybe.
personification. That's what I hear, that her personification is being portrayed as the good side of this. I mean, I haven't watched it, so.
Yeah, Westworld is very, very deep, and I started watching some Philip K. Dick, Electric Dreams. That's pretty interesting as well.
I've had those. So, well, anyway, getting back to counterparts, the thing that I found so interesting is that finally, after the first episode, you're going, what in the freak's going on? It's great mind coitus. And the second one that they had finally revealed what happened. And it leads me to this point, Jeff. So in the series, in the second series, sometime in our recent past, reality split. They don't know why. They don't know what caused it. All they know is that it happened. And when it did, there was a portal that extended between that reality and this one, because they were exactly split, the opposite. And what's interesting is that they have an intelligence agency on both sides, and information is being transferred in a very secret way. Then they get a rogue agent who comes over here, and she is killing people.
Sounds a lot like Fringe in a way.
Kind of, yeah, yeah. So it makes me wonder, and I talked about this last night over on my channel, was what do you see?
Michelle says, if you're having a drinking game, for Wayne, it's mind coitus. For Jeff, it's interesting.
Just different ways of looking at things. But
that's hilarious.
So think about this. What if we misinterpreted, let's say, two events? And I'm going to bring two what ifs. The first one, what if we misinterpreted the Mayan calendar?
And we did.
And I think we did. What if that was an indication of a split in reality? Different consciousness going in different directions. Someone wrote me, and I thought it was very interesting how they came up with this. They said, well, what if that split has happened before, and the last time it happened is when Christianity was brought forth?
And you know, the last X-Files was all about the Mandela effect.
The Mingala effect.
The Mingala effect, right? Mandela Mingala. That was interesting, but it's I mean, it's all over the place. This whole timeline thing, this whole shift thing, it's everywhere. And of course I love how they have in all their little mini series here, they now have at least one silly one among the 5 or 6 they do. And that was fun, but there was again the Mingala effect, aka the Mandela effect.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I like the fact that Chris Carter is now writing and producing it again. And let me tell you, that guy will tickle your brain. I mean, and definitely tickle your cognitive resonance. It's like, hey, how you feeling?
And who knew that? I mean, you knew Duchovny did from some of the other stuff he's done, but Gillian Anderson displays a real flair for comedic acting as well.
Yes, she does. She really does. And it's still so funny that the fact that she's about a foot shorter than David. So that is, but the stories are getting back to where we are at. There is the whole thing with the smoking man now is that we now know that this alien takeover was in fact what and they kind of brought this out. They said the whole point of the 70s was to confuse people. You brought the evidence out in the 50s. In the 60s, we began to see the exploration exponentially of man's intelligence, evidence of technology, etc. And then in the 70s, when the computer chip actually came into society, that's where things started getting interesting.
So they were trying to confuse us during the 70s. What happened in the 70s? I'm sitting here looking at the picture of me and Elvis. So,
well, I mean,
the 70s and
so the 70s, we started getting the psychic shock of what the end of the 60s was. The end of the 60s was an era. It was a time that was basically going to be obliterated. And we saw that launched into 1969. And I think that we landed on the moon. You think of everything that propelled us into the 70s. And
When
then,
did Vietnam start?
well, Vietnam started, I guess, technically would have been what, 1958,
And
59?
when did it get hot for us? When was it
It
hot?
got real hot for us and started in 69.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
The body count started going up, you know. And of course, for people like me, I mean, when the last draft was when I turned 18. And yeah, I mean, it's like crap. I mean,
You had
1,000.
Charles Manson in 1968, 9,
Yeah.
right?
69, 68. Yeah. Yeah. And then you had the break up the Beatles. You had Nixon. You had Watergate. You had this continue. Patty Hearst. You had
Right.
the SLA Underground. It was just this chaotic, crazy time. And it was reflective, I think, in the consciousness of where we saw the world go.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway.
Dalton Gaming says she remembers clearly the day that Mandela died, and she said to her spouse, "What? I thought he's already been dead." So it was the Mandela effect was very real for Dalton Gaming. I believe that's a lady. I don't want to misspeak, but
Listen, I'll tell you a story when I learned years ago in my professional career. I happened to be having lunch
I know this one. I never did this.
with the CFO of a company I had just got hired with, and we were waiting in line to go eat, and I made the mistake asking when she was expecting.
And she wasn't.
Needless to say, Jeffrey, I learned a lot that day.
Dalton Gaming is a lady.
Oh, okay. Well,
So Wayne,
yeah,
you had that wreck today with the congressional train, and I
yeah,
know a lot of people are reading a lot of things into it. Can't sometimes there just be traffic accidents, and they don't really mean anything beyond their traffic accidents?
yeah. I think that in the realm of possibility, absolutely. But then I have to ask myself, this is the same trash guy who's probably been over that track how many times with the garbage, figures out, I mean, unless that it just stalled.
His truck, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, woo. And if it did, what are the odds that your car is going to stall right when a passenger train just happens to be carrying over 202 members of Congress, all GOP and family?
So was somebody trying to derail the train and get back at the GOP for the memo coming up?
All right, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I think there was a spell that was cast.
A spell.
Yes,
Hmm.
I do.
G. Mason probably wasn't trying to be funny, but G. Mason says, were they trying to regain the majority?
Listen, I'm being very serious about this. The way they handled this thing, the way that it just unfolded,
A spell by whom, Wayne?
I think that there is some powerful magicians, witches, if you want to say it, if you want to call them that. They may even be above that name, but I believe that they have formed a pact to damage this man. The personification is what I am finding alarming. Is that it's not Donald Trump. He's just the object and the focus of what's happening here. But to see the contrast of personifications, one, you have prosperity, you have increase, you have growth, you have this rejuvenation, but then you have this dark malevolency that is visible.
It is visible.
Last night, what you saw was the dark force at work. And was
They
it
were not happy.
coincidence today that you have a garbage truck that just happens to be full, by the way? I don't know.
So, was there anything nefarious about the wreck involving the GOP train? The rods say there was something nefarious. I'm not sure. Somebody said something about Heidi's rods. What did Heidi's rods say about it?
I don't
I
know.
have a hard time believing that. I would have said no, but my rods say yes. So you think there probably was something nefarious about the train wreck, it sounds like.
Well, you see, I come at a different perspective. I see spell casting as being real, as being palatable on people. They've shown that you could say hypnosis is a spell, and we know that you can mass hypnotize people without them knowing it.
Wayne, Heidi's rods also said there was something nefarious about the train wreck.
When I was sitting here typing, and I'm telling you, I didn't even have the TV on, and something told me, get up and turn on the television. I turned it on, and I'm seeing this, and I'm getting this download. This was a spell. This was a spell. Wow. There was powerful forces at work here.
Did that wreck have to do with a spell? Says yes. Now, Lizzie adds that one of the ex-presidents from Mexico is involved in witchcraft. His name is Salinas.
Mm-hmm. And he has vowed to take Trump down.
He has.
Yes, he has.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. It's hard for me to believe that it's not just a wreck, but it's certainly possible.
You know, when you look at where this wreck happened and you go to Google Earth, and like I said, it could be in all reality a set of coincidences that would rival going to Vegas and, you know, rolling the dice on one roll. And the only one that got killed was the driver.
Wow. So obviously they meant for something more to happen.
I think something was wrong there. I mean, here's why I'm trying to analyze this. So the guy sitting there, he's a local. He sees this train go by every day.
Right.
They know it. They get the schedule. They know the train schedule. And he breaks down, right? And he doesn't have the good sense to get out of the cab.
Yeah. Did he have his seatbelt on? Did he fall asleep? Was he shot?
Was he under a spell?
Man? What's that?
Was he under a spell?
Was he under a spell?
Listen,
but the train didn't even derail. It just went right on its merry way, right?
Well, you know, yeah, it did. It hit it, and it fortunately, where the way it hit that truck, the kinetic energy went off to the side, which told me something else was at play. I mean,
so it sounds like a battle of good witches and bad witches.
Well, listen, there's a lot at stake here. I mean, if the Trump...
Or are you telling me that Trump is being protected by extraterrestrials, Wayne?
I think he's being protected by higher powers.
Really?
I do. I did a video over on my channel, and I told people it would not be good for you to bet against this guy. There's something about him. Everything that his enemies do, it turns on them.
But why would they pick Trump of all the people? I mean, there's more lovable, more middle of the road, more likable guys. I mean, Trump is a love or hate guy. You either love him or you hate him. They could have picked somebody not as polemic as Trump.
But he's not beholden to anyone.
That's true.
I mean, it's like I've heard this. His attitude is kiss my ass.
It is.
Yeah. He's not like Obama. Obama went in there to get rich.
And famous.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Obama was there. Obama treated the presidency as though it was some sort of Hollywood acting.
He was a rock star.
Yeah. That's what he wanted. And it worked fine because he didn't ruffle the waves. He allowed the powers to be, the New World Order, to continue right on with there, and they were going to have a coronation for Hillary Clinton. And then reality changed.
So, Wayne, how did it happen that Hillary did not get in? Was it people like you and me that just stood up and said, we've had enough? Or was it something supernatural?
I think it was a combination of both. I think that people came together in a way that I think it was even the super subconscious. And I believe that. I believe that the Earth's, if you look at the Schumann resonance right now, the Earth, it is now amplified up there. We respond to that. And I
Wayne, how
think that,
about this?
what's that?
How about the subtle message? You can't stop the Trump train.
Oh, come on. If we can get people a cup of coffee, that one I'd definitely, that's
You
good.
can't stop the Trump train.
I love it.
Not even with a garbage truck.
So I want to tell you, I was up at 4 o'clock this morning, went out and was filming. And in fact, I have a PowerPoint of the eclipse, the lunar eclipse. Wow, I got to tell you something, Jeffrey. What happened to me was at the point at 5:55, we started going into totality here. There was an energy. I got to tell you what, I'm being very candid with you, and I know there's 100 people plus watching. It charged me up. There was an energy. I mean, it was really, I think if you probably were in a place where you could receive that and understand what was really taking place, yeah, I found it to be a real spiritual experience. I really did.
How did it compare to the solar eclipse that you experienced?
This one was pleasant.
Okay, so you weren't sickened by this one.
No,
Interesting.
this one actually gave me chills of warmth. Now,
I saw it, but it was hard here because it was it was too late for us to eat it. But they're interesting. They're interesting astronomical and astrological events. They have absolutely nothing to do with Bible prophecy, but
no.
As a person, it would behoove you, maybe if you're feeling something about it, to get with Heidi and go through your chart and see if it has made some dramatic effect on your personal chart.
Yeah. And I mean, and one of the things I'm learning in all the study and everything else, the moon has always had an impact on our species. I mean,
yeah,
you can go through the Bible. It goes all the way. Well, Abram, that's what his family did. They worshiped the moon.
Yep.
You know,
Ellie McVinue says that back in the early 80s, a voice told Trump that he'd be president one day. Do you have a source on that, Ellie McVinue 23? Where you read that or heard that? That's interesting.
Well, you know as well is that even with the symptoms, say what you want, but how did they get that message? I mean,
the one of him on the escalator was actually after, but the one with Lisa in the presidency taking over for Trump was before.
Yeah, that was the one I'm referencing.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. I mean, it really is. And people say that the Biff character in Back to the Future was, emblematic of Trump. That might be a little bit of a reach, but it could be true.
Well, he's different. One thing you have to say, he is different. Even in his own administration, you look at this last year that he had. We now know where.
Oh, Ellie says a voice told her that.
Oh.
And the same voice told her that Putin would be president of Russia. And this was in the early 80s. Very interesting, Ellie McVinue.
Very interesting. I'll have to tell you one time about the night vision I had on the three armies. But
wow, yeah.
So when you think about Trump in his first year, I look at this as almost as I'm reading a Shakespearean play. I'm reading, Caesar's betrayal. He is surrounded by his enemies. But now this is what I find so interesting. This is why I am convinced there is something of a greater power at work here. Who would have thought that Andy McCabe would have been the traitor? I mean, he was, there because Trump allowed him there. But this looks like the guy was doing all the linking, all the secret conversations between Trump and foreign leaders. We couldn't figure out where these leaks were coming from, and it kept the White House staff in turmoil. And now come to find out that it was his enemies. And now we're finding out our enemies. Because this guy is leaking classified information out to the press through unknown sources.
Interesting. And I'm convinced, and this is weird, this just came to me, but I remember the last cycle for Obama's reelection. I thought Trump was going to run then. And it's almost like Trump knew he could have run and won then, but for some reason he wanted to wait and run and win this time. I know that sounds weird, but I just remember having that feeling that if Trump ran, because remember he did the whole thing. He had
Yep.
the plane in the background, the hangar, the whole same thing. But he said, "No, I'm not going to run this time." I just
Yeah.
wonder what was going on.
Listen, I'll give you my theory on this. I live in Denver, and in 2008, what I witnessed at Mile High Stadium and the people I was with, I said, don't look. I said, but this is one of the largest spells I'd ever seen cast upon people.
Was it
What,
still Mile High Stadium then?
I think I don't know what it was back then. It may have been sports.
Invesco or whatever. Sports
Invest. I don't.
Authority.
Yeah, some one of the.
Was that the Obama thing?
Yeah, that was the coronation when he came out, and it was depicted as Mount Olympus.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that.
Yeah, and if you watch, there was magic signals, hands that were, the spell was cast, and I could see it as it began to wash across the audience.
It was like watching a Benny Hinn meeting.
It was, exactly. I mean, I told the people I was with, I said, look, I said, these people are under a spell. They're mesmerized.
I was with my buddy and I said, "Look, it's Obama Hinn," and we just cracked up because this is exactly what it looked like.
I mean, and
I called him the Abomination of Desolation. I should have made that T-shirt and put it out.
You should have. And there was a lot of things that went in the background of this. So when I talk about the spell,
Moz didn't know he never ran before.
What most people don't realize, I'm in the payment industry, and in 2008, what Barack Obama did was the most amazing thing, because what he got that audience to do was to give what they called the $5 pledge, and mobile giving wasn't around. You had to go to your, which were still analog phones back there that were still going to the digital networks, and text the number, and that would have been $5 onto your bill. They don't do that anymore. They raised over $250 million.
Crazy.
So that's a pretty good spell when you think about the momentum that literally swept from people. I mean, the thing that I always found was amazing, they never vetted the guy.
And I mean, I don't like this, but it keeps coming up over and over again for me. Is Michelle Obama a man? Yes.
Well, the dance that she did on the Ellen Show, whatever. Now, I know this may sound bad to your listeners, but no, I'll keep it to myself.
No, say it.
Is that it's part of the deception. It was part of the spell casting. I mean, was it
part of keeping him? You better do what we want you to do because we know that you're gay and you're married to a transsexual and we'll out you?
Yeah.
With all due respect to gays and transsexuals, I got no problem with them. But if you're trying to pretend you're not one and you're not married to one and they know that you are, they've got you right where they want you.
And why never does no one talks about the fact that she was disbarred from the Illinois bar?
So were both the Clintons disbarred.
Yeah, and I'm going, folks, to be disbarred, that's like the old Western branded,
Yeah, tell them about what disbarring means. That means that you do not have the right to practice law any longer. You have been kicked out.
It means that you have failed the moral and ethical code as an officer of the court.
You've been shunned. And think about it.
You've been shunned. That's exactly
Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, all three of them have been disbarred. Disbarred.
And that's any other thing in life, that would be your character.
It's like a dishonorable discharge from the military.
Yeah, it is. It is. But even worse. And listen, I believe this, and I know we weren't going to talk about politics. I don't know how we got on this, but so anyway, the shirt I have on tonight is in 37 years ago, The Great American Hero came out on ABC. And it lasted for 3 seasons, and it ushered in a new era for America. Ronald Reagan was coming into office. We had been through the Carter years, and it was just terrible. And, the thing about it is that we don't think about enslavement. But when your taxes get so high, unemployment is high, and it just becomes crap every way. It cast a pall on everything. So anyway, I am saying that here we are in 2018, commemorating the greatest American hero, and I think we have a new one coming in, and his name is Donald Trump.
Interesting. Actually, we are wrong, Wayne.
What's that?
In 2000, Trump did make a brief run for the Reform Party nomination.
Well, there you go. I'm going to chalk that up to the Mandela effect.
Yeah, I could, what, Wayne? You joke, but dude, I'm a student of Donald Trump, and I don't remember this. I don't remember this.
I don't either,
But anyway, there it is.
Hey,
I don't remember it, but
I don't remember it either. I mean, because it would have been like a Ross Perot. And, I campaigned for Ross Perot. But so,
wow.
I see what, and I'll tell you, what's about to happen. I talked to Heidi about this, and we ought to get Heidi on and get Jenny Moonstone and get Trisha G and the rest of them, kind of do a panel discussion here, because let me tell you what I think's about to happen. If they release this memo in which President Trump said on a hot mic,
100%,
100%, people need to see it, and it will bring down this, what I call the secret government.
Wayne, tell people what's in the memo.
This memo is an indictment against certain operatives in key places in federal agencies that were actively working against Donald Trump, altering documents, hiding documents, trying to erase documents. The list is apparently, it's just not these 2 other people that had their little tryst. That's just really the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, somebody said it's not Watergate, it's OceanGate.
This is potentially and this is just my opinion, this potentially, their acts were treason.
And Obama was involved in it heavily, correct?
His operatives.
Yep. So he had to know.
This is going to shake things up, and the Democrats are fighting this because if they know it's going to get out. They already got several things against them. There's an unprecedented amount of Republican in the Congress that are stepping down. Trey Gowdy announced today that he was stepping down. I think he's stepping down, hopefully, to replace Jeff Sessions, because Trey Gowdy is like a bulldog in a junkyard that you just threw a piece of prime rib across. That's what Trey Gowdy is. He's the Democrats' worst nightmare. Let me just put it this way, or Republican. If you're breaking the law, this is not the guy you want as your prosecutor.
Yeah.
So
will Trey Gowdy be Attorney General?
Ooh.
Says yes.
Whoa, man. I just got this rush on that because
we'll see.
This will really,
what is Sessions? Sessions is Attorney General, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's some things going on that I don't like. Number one, they've instituted this policy of what they call capital forfeiture, and it's being misused. It really is. It's being used by local law enforcement to basically seize private assets from private citizens.
They're taking a lot of money from a lot of people here in Florida doing that.
It's really bad, folks. Bad. You should be calling your congressman. And this is the problem with Jeff Sessions, is that you thought you were bringing in a conservative that had, what we would call an unbiased view and had the fortitude. That's one of the things that I think anytime a president picks a cabinet level person is that you should have the internal fortitude to do what's right. And unfortunately, we're finding who's the FBI under? The Department of Justice.
Right.
So you're saying that Jeff Sessions doesn't know what's going on in his own department? Well, then the man's unqualified.
Yeah. His thing, though, is he gave Trump instant credibility in the campaign, so it was kind of a payback.
Well, it is, and that's
Trump
how
had
it
his
works.
fingers crossed, but it just didn't work.
So he's got his pension.
There's
and
no third temple coming, truth only. That's silly, silly Jesuit doctrine.
So
Sorry,
the thing about Andy McCabe, what he said today was this. He said, my departure best not be, and the date, I think it's in March, when his pension goes into effect. And he told in a comment to the press, and you can look it up, that if they mess with my pension, I'll burn them. I'll burn it down.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he said. And I went, holy crap, that was on the Drudge Report. And I went, oh, really? So what else is up here? I mean, listen, this is really sad. So let me just finish my point in all this, Jeff, is that I see this as there is a higher power at work here. And it is fighting against some dark, negative energy. And the unity that you and I have talked about, we're all talking about it. We really have to be on our guard to make sure that that unity is not interrupted.
Very interesting.
And I thought that that's what President Trump said last night. It was an amazing speech that he made.
It was a good one.
Do you know he didn't use I hardly at all? I think
he said we 191 times.
Yes, in America 80 times. The ACLU is thinking about suing him because they found it offensive.
I mean, can you imagine that stupid congressman gets offended by the crowd chanting USA, USA, and walks out? They ought to just let him walk out, or somebody should have shot him in the back. I don't mean that literally, but
well, my attitude
get out and stay out. You just walked away from your job, senator or congressman, whatever you are, you worthless POS.
Don't let the door hit you on your
butt
as you're walking out. You know, and the way it's becoming is that you've got a group of people who've become obstructionists, and that's what they've become. They're not there to legislate. They're not there to do anything of what they took an oath to do.
Yeah.
And so that means right there that Donald Trump is already working against a force that has said, we are against the American people. And this is what it is all about. We are against the American people. When you got Nancy Pelosi standing up there and saying, well, $1,000. And then you got Wasserman Schultz, who says, big deal. You know, what's $1,000? You're going to get it taxed. Yeah, they're taxing it because of you.
Yeah.
But thank goodness that we got the Trump thing is going to be taxed less. Yeah. Now that's enslavement is what they're saying to their constituency. We would rather see you broke, poor, in debt, because then we control you.
But Wayne, you had a Hispanic senator walk out on a white president during the State of the Union. Could you, and no one said one word about it except for Drudge Report and the conservative media, could you imagine if a white senator had walked out on the State of the Union of a black president? Could you imagine what would have happened?
He'd have to resign today.
Yeah, he would.
He would have to resign. And you know, here's the other thing.
To your point, Wayne, politicians prefer unarmed peasants.
They do. They do. Listen, here's the thing. People challenge me on the spell thing. I'll tell you how the spell worked, folks. Did any of you who voted for Barack Obama ever look at his past? And isn't it odd that the picture with Louis Farrakhan
never came out?
Never came out. And when it did come out, all the major news outlets, NBC, ABC, CBS, the Communist News Network, CNN, MSNBC, which basically stands for your cranium up your anus, that where the fecal matter replaces the brain cells. But anyway, they didn't report that. They didn't think that was relevant.
Is Barack Obama Muslim? Yes. I believe he is 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
And probably Nation of Islam, you would think.
Well, you look at the whole policies, and boy, we're getting into the political hour, but it affected us. The whole Iranian deal. Number one, Barack Obama broke the law when he sent the $108 billion over in cash. He did that.
Cash.
Cash. Yeah. Took 3 G5 Gulfstreams to get the cash over there. Now, I don't dig that. I don't dig the fact that Valerie Jarrett holds a dual passport. She is Iranian. Her father is one of the mullahs.
You can't make this up. It sounds like an episode of Homeland.
It's exactly where they got the script at. So here you had Valerie Jarrett. Let me tell you how powerful Valerie Jarrett was. And this is why...
Not to mention Huma Abedin or whatever her name is.
Oh, yeah. Well, that...
Part of Iranian royalty, right?
Yeah.
Or Saudi.
Yeah.
Iranian.
Yeah. So with Valerie Jarrett, she was the president. Most people think it was Barack Obama. It was Valerie Jarrett. I'll tell you how this person worked. So Harry Reid, when they were talking about the Affordable Care Act, Harry Reid was a holdout. Obamacare. He was, he wasn't happy about this. And so what he was going to do, true story, he was going over to the White House to get this young president in line. He said he was going over there to inform the president how the Senate works. Boy, where have we heard that before? So Harry Reid gets there. Instead of going into the Oval Office, he's ushered into the West Wing, right into Valerie Jarrett's office.
Whoa.
The story goes, she didn't even close the door.
Wow.
She basically castrated the man. They said that when they saw him when he walked out, he was crying.
How could Valerie Jarrett have that much power, Wayne?
Exactly. Well, she had her own Secret Service detail. Now, you tell me when a chief of staff has their own Secret Service detail. So
that doesn't sound right, but man, unbelievable.
It's not. And
how could she make Harry Reid go to pieces?
When you actually hold the axe, it's like you don't need an executioner. You already got that down pat,
She probably slapped him.
Well, whatever she did to him, you notice that Harry Reid never, after that, ever went against anything that Barack did.
Wayne, was this the same person that Bill met on the tarmac in that airplane?
Oh, no, that's Loretta Lynch.
Loretta Lynch, okay.
Yeah, this is the whole thing with Andy McCabe. This is where the whole thing of this meeting is now falling apart. Listen, we all knew something was wrong. It was unethical for Loretta Lynch to meet with the former president, whose wife just happened to be under an FBI investigation.
Yeah. Wayne, is pedophilia at the base of all of this?
I don't know. I was a lobbyist. I never saw any of that. I mean, the people that I dealt with, no, I never saw any of that. And I don't know. But we know that there's been enough written about it. The thing I say about the Clintons, you go back to the history of Whitewater and go back to the Rose Law Firm, and you start looking at those two's past. Now, the thing about it is there's been enough of former Arkansas state troopers who have testified that Bill Clinton was a womanizer.
Right.
From day one.
Yeah.
And Hillary was not what they would ever call ethical. They say that there are more skeletons buried along the White River than there is in a graveyard.
And it's been said that Hillary Clinton might have more female conquests than Bill. And that's fine, but Don't hide it. So Wayne, you talk about this spiritual battle.
Yeah.
Who are the spiritual forces behind those that are opposing Donald Trump?
So in 1973, I believe, I was watching this show on the Soyuz. The Soyuz cosmonaut, and I believe
Right.
it was Soyuz 7. Don't quote me on the number, but it was one of the Soyuz craft. Those cosmonauts saw 7, what they described as angelic beings that were, they estimated, thousands of miles.
And Lizzie makes a good point. The Muslim Brotherhood was often inside the Obama White House.
Yes, quite frequently. Yeah.
So 7 angelic beings.
That's what they described them as.
Around the Soviet spacecraft.
Yeah, they actually saw them over the planet, standing.
Oh, over the planet.
Yeah, over the planet.
Good beings or bad beings?
They said that they were good. They said that they looked like angels.
So who are the ones that are supporting the forces opposed to Donald Trump?
Well, if you look at the reality that we should be in right now, Hillary Clinton would be in office. We would have already had a stock market collapse.
And a war with Russia, probably.
We would probably have already, the missiles would have been starting to fly. It would have deteriorated that badly.
So do you really think there was an actual break in time?
I do. I absolutely do. Yes, sir.
Do you believe Trump is a time traveler?
I don't know. I know that he is a messenger of hope. And it's
with all his warts, all his flaws, all his stupid comments and boorish attitudes, still
he never said he was a saint. He's human. But I'm telling you, this man has a gift of edification. He has a gift of hope. And I believe that there is this, listen, and it's just my opinion, this event that happened today. So we have a lunar eclipse. What is it? The brightest, biggest moon that's supposed to be this year. I saw the blood moon. I got that. It was a blue moon too. And there was a cosmic power that was coming. I felt it. Now, maybe it was just me. Maybe it was all in my mind coitus, but it felt real to me. And then I see these events unfold. I mean, think about the alternative reality. Let's say that train did derail. You'd have changed the face of our government.
Wow.
That's how serious it is, folks. We would have seen our government change. I mean, for instance,
Wayne, who is the group behind who's the dark power? Who are they? Where are they from?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you're going to take, the two lovebirds, they make this reference to this secret society.
Who's the lovebirds?
That's the two FBI agents that they found on the text. Yeah. So what's going on here?
So you think they're dark ETs?
I can't say this publicly because I don't have anything to confirm it, but there are rumors about on the Clinton side. You can go out there and buy the books that these people practice something a little different.
Oh, so you think it might be like, stuff that you'd almost have to describe as demonic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Wayne, what happened? Okay, you say that in the timeline as it was supposed to be, Hillary Clinton would be president.
Yeah.
Can you pinpoint a time when it happened, when things went off the rails?
Fortunately, I have a video record of this. You go back into my archives, and the next morning I did a video, and what my lead in was this: something changed. Something changed. I felt the change, and I've never said this on the air publicly, but my wife and I were sitting in our den watching this, and it was, I'll tell you when it was almost like 1:11 a.m. East Coast time. And Hillary was supposed to come out. And John Podesta came in, and I looked at my wife and I said, something's changed. There's a shift here.
Really?
I said, and that's
Remember
what I
what
told
day
him.
it was?
Oh, go right there in my video. You can go right back to it. It's I put the video out on November 10th. The change
Of
happened.
last year?
The change happened in November 9th, 2016.
November 9th, 2016.
It's when reality changed.
What was going on November 9th, 2016?
The election
11/09/16.
was the election.
Yeah, but it was over then.
No, 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 no. If you remember, they were still, I had all through, we were watching, they had not called Michigan or Minnesota.
Oh, so you think it happened on the day of the election really,
Yeah.
really late?
Yeah, I do.
An actual time shift?
Yeah, I think actually it was a reality shift, a complete timeline shift.
Who shifted it?
I don't know. I don't know. Listen, I have said this publicly. I know a person, she is a Democrat, and she contends to this day that she doesn't belong here. She doesn't belong in this timeline. She keeps saying it. She says, everything has changed. She says, my husband's changed.
I remember hearing that. And Trump kept saying, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. And there was even talk about him being not mentally stable because he thought he was going to win and it was impossible.
There was a backup plan that we're finding out now.
Trump and Sean Hannity were the only ones that thought he was going to win.
I think that wasn't Lauren Ingle. Who was our other gal? Oh no, it's always on. She's on with Sean Hannity all the time. Not Laura. Yeah. Anyway, the fact is that there was, and you could see it. It was as palatable when people began to realize that the shift hit. Because it's still.
Do you really think all those pictures backstage, you see Bill's all happy and Hillary's all happy, and then all of a sudden they're not all happy?
I bet you if she was honest, if I was allowed to interview her and she wanted to be really honest, I would be willing to bet, my friend, that she would have agreed with my thesis. She would have said, and I bet she still says, something happened.
Robin, there's no proof that Trump said what?
What?
It just said there's no proof that Trump said that, but if he did, is it a lie?
Said what?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out.
Oh.
What was it that Trump supposedly said? So you think, did Clinton know when it changed, or did she just have this all of a sudden something's changed?
I think she felt it as well. I really do.
Do you think Trump was surprised that he won?
Yes. Yes.
Even though he kept saying, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, you still think he was surprised?
Yes. Yep.
You think it's true that Melania cried?
I don't know. But I know that he felt it. The story I heard that when John Podesta walked in, and it was NBC News who I believe called Michigan. And that was the domino. That was basically it. And accordingly to what she said, and I don't know, this is just hearsay, but it's certainly gotten around enough that it's becoming, okay, let's talk about it. She said, I was guaranteed.
Ooh, she said that, huh?
And she
Hillary Davis says Hillary Clinton is a mass murderer. I think that's literally true from a few different contexts.
There's been a few people in the Clinton administration. I'm still trying to figure out how the guy that committed suicide by the gunshot in the
Vince
back of the
Foster,
head. Yes,
with his offhand.
Yeah,
if you're going to shoot yourself and you're right-handed, you're going to use your left hand every time.
Explain to me how that happened. And what about the guy that died over in Bosnia in the airplane crash that had a bullet to his head? Well, I guess that he never knew about the plane crash, did he? So,
well, Wayne, he just didn't want to die in a plane crash, so he shot himself on the way down.
I've heard this before. Someone, and I know it's crass, but I was at a dinner in Washington D.C. and someone said he was pissed off because there was no McDonald's.
Yeah.
Apparently, he had this thing.
Did you hear the thing that stupid Hillary read that Trump was always afraid that he's going to be poisoned? That's why he eats at McDonald's so much. I guess he figures he may be eating poison, but it won't be directed at him at McDonald's.
Well, I'm trying to begin to think now if reality split, let's just say that could happen, right? Well, what Hillary did we get? Because
Did Hillary die? And is this a different Hillary?
who knows? I mean, listen,
Wow.
that woman was sick on the
Oh, she
campaign.
was so sick. Marsden Brooks says they came and informed Hillary that the plan changed.
Oh, see?
Who?
Who? That's the question is who? I was
Yeah.
telling someone this today. I said, the problem with AI? The whole problem with this whole digital thing? You can't pull back the freaking curtain, at least in
Yeah.
The Wizard of Oz. Toto at least helped us on that one.
And I had a couple of insiders tell me that Clinton was rip-roaring drunk after that as well, too.
Well, she expected a coronation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they were going to plan. I mean, the Queen, the first family, it was all set.
Yeah.
But so
then the Donald got in the way.
So, all right, if it wasn't a reality split, then did we see a time altercation? Did we see a timeline inject itself into ours? Not completely, kind of just like a ribbon. And that was one of the effects, was this shift of this virtual unknown, a maverick.
So did some off-planet intelligence intervene in our timeline to make sure that Clinton did not get elected and did not go to war with Russia, which might have obliterated the planet?
Yeah, I think we need to give serious consideration to that.
Because, Putin and the Donald had their bromance, going on in the campaign. They probably still do. I think those two really like each other.
I think they got the personality that and listen, there's nothing
and
wrong with
that.
that.
A good thing? Don't we want our president to be friends with the Russian president?
I'd like them to be buddies with the China president. I mean,
I was hoping they could bring little Kim in on the threesome, and they could all get along.
You've heard what he's doing now, right?
No, I haven't heard what he's doing.
Well, so to feed his maniacal thirst for blood, now he's cleaning out all those around him. So, and his favorite form of execution, apparently, he did his uncle this way, and then, in fact, he did the whole family, is to put you in front of a anti-aircraft gun. Seriously.
That's overkill, isn't it? They don't have that many anti-aircraft rounds. I don't know how he can do that.
I mean, I'm going, what do you go and go, well, God.
Well, if you're going to go, you go fast with an anti-aircraft gun.
Yeah. And, listen, for everything we've been talking about too, listen, the world powers to be, they don't know Trump. The thing at Davos that
they don't know Trump.
No. The report that most people didn't hear on the mainstream media was that he was received as a hero. Now, these were all the elite at Davos.
Really?
Yes. He secured last week, and for everyone that lives in the United States, and by the way, this is going to have a global effect. From I think there was approximately 12 of the major world CEOs, primarily European, they committed in excess of nearly $80 billion in new investment in the United States, representing probably in another excess of over 200,000 jobs.
Because they can get return on their money now.
Yeah, yeah. And here's the problem. If you're the antithesis of hope, prosperity, well, then you don't want the economy to be going. You don't, because if people are getting pay raises, finally, listen, I'll tell you a true story. My daughter-in-law, stepdaughter, my wife's daughter, she has a degree, smart, and has experienced 15 plus years. Do you know that the wage at her level of education and experience has not increased in nearly 10 years.
Wow.
When you start thinking about college graduates now with business degrees that are making less than $20 an hour, listen, back in 1976, I was a union drywall finisher.
But you didn't have some college degree that's worthless.
I did not. I did not have a college. I didn't even graduate from high school.
So not only are they conning you to go to college, but they're conning you to go to college. They're filling your mind with crap, and then they're keeping you as a wage slave afterwards. When it's the guys like Wayne and the guys that are working with their hands that figure out, wait a minute, this Trump guy sounds like he might actually help us, and boom, the whole thing blows up in their face.
Yeah. Listen, I believe we're about to see, Jeffrey, one of the largest economic booms where we're going to have a demand now for the building trades. I don't think people should go to college. In fact, college is a waste of time.
It is. It's a waste of time and money.
Go to the trade schools. This is what we should be investing in making America great again. Get the way out of this robot automation.
Work with your hands.
That's alchemy, by the way.
That is alchemy.
That's alchemy. And let's train people again to get into what we call the trades. My day, it was the arts and trades.
Yeah.
Because painters who are artisans could become a union member. And in 1975, I was making $10.75 an hour. Think about that.
In 1975, that's a lot of money.
It was. And when I made foreman, that was a 50-cent an hour increase. So for every quarter, it's $10 a week. So that was a $20, $80 a year, which made it even better, was $920 a year added to my take-home pay.
It's a lot of money.
And Jeffrey, here's the other thing. My wife and I was talking about this. So when I was working back then, my ex-wife, who I was married at the time, she was working for a savings and loan. I was in the union. I had my insurance. She had hers. I got sick. And when I got out of the hospital, 10 days later, I get a check for over $5,000 from my insurance company. You know why?
Why?
Because the deductible was met by my wife's insurance, and so they had to legally pay my benefits of what would have been the difference.
Wow.
I don't remember.
People have to do that. People have to realize this. And it's, people say, the Trump economy, it's a phantom. Well, let me tell you a little story, Wayne. You know these silly little rods that I make?
Yes, sir.
I make these things. I make them, each one of them myself by hand. And I had a couple people tell me this week, I tried to order rods and it wouldn't let me. I'm like, what? There's no way. So I go on there. And sure enough, I have to put this stock number in there, which is fictitious because I make them one by one. But I had put it was either 400 or 500, Wayne. I can't remember. I put it in there thinking, never, ever will I sell that many of them. And since Trump has been elected, I've sold at least, maybe it was 300. Let's be conservative. At least 300 pairs of these crazy things.
Excellent. I think
the Trump economy is a real thing.
Yeah, I think people listen. We're going to get eventually. I've had a number of great guests, Jeff, on here. I've had Dr. Richard Allen Miller.
I saw that. That was a great show.
Yep. And then I'm having this Friday night, Dr. Claudia Albers back on again, and I'm bringing Scott Zione from Planet X back with her. But here's the thing. Everywhere I go, all these physicists are saying the next thing for physics, laws, science is magic. That's where it's going. Magic, Jeff. Think about it. Now, when we get to this point of divination, it's replete even in the scriptures. I like in the book of Proverbs, it says the bones are thrown, the die is cast, and it gives that whole thing. I love it. I think it's, what is it? It's 16. It says that there's this thing here,
I'll do you one better, Wayne. Daniel said in his prophecy of the great image with the gold head, the silver on down, he said that it was a future entity that'll try to take over humanity, but the diviners that are led by the stone cut without hands will bring it down. The diviners.
Yes, 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 yes. And I've got
So
mine.
the real followers of the Christ are diviners, Wayne.
I believe that. Hold
You
on
know what
one
a
second.
diviner is?
That's
That's why the Bible's so against magic and witchcraft
see,
and
I've got
sorcery,
mine.
because, wow. How about that? We are the diviners, and we're the ones that are going to bring this system down.
I believe as well, and I've been saying this, last time the Heidi was on.
Ooh, Sterling's going to be in Vegas in March. Sterling, talk to me. We may have a deal. I need to go to Vegas and do something, so maybe I will meet you out there.
Okay.
Sterling from Osaka.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yeah. So, I mean, this is what I'm convinced about. We have been so indoctrinated in our perceptions of what we see as good and bad. One, we call them demons, demonic activities. Other ones we call angelic or good. And maybe it's not even that at all. Maybe that's just how our ancestors interpreted it. But whatever it is, I believe more than ever before, this battle is intensifying. I mean, it's so evident. And anyway, yeah.
So who are the good beings that are supporting Donald Trump?
Okay. I told you about Sylvia. Let me tell you something that
and you sure she's on the level?
Oh yeah. She really give me a second here. She said in one of her meditation periods that that she met what we would call higher powers.
Okay.
Things, whatever. And she said that when she approached them, I'm putting this in my vernacular, right, that in essence, she said they told her she stank.
Really?
And she said, "What do you mean I stink?" And she said, "I'm a good person." She says, "I'm here to help humanity. I want to make sure that good is brought forth." And these entities said to her, "No, you stink." And when she asked why, she said, when a person looks at themselves negatively, begins to condemn themselves, begins to speak negatively to themselves, begin to hurt themselves, begin to think they're unworthy, all the things that brings that negative imagery is making our souls stink.
Interesting.
And that's what the spirits can smell.
Interesting. And the ones that want to feed on you can smell it, and they come and feed on it.
Now you're getting, because it's like, bacon being fried in the middle of the Yukon.
Yeah.
You'll have every grizzly bear within 1,000 miles.
Oh, wouldn't you? Absolutely.
I mean, it's like dinner bell, and so that's why they have to keep us at each other. That's why they have to have anger. That's why they have to have division. That's why they have to have all of this chaos, because it makes us feel bad. Listen, I did a story, Jeff, it was actually on the Drudge Report, that this guy wrote on Fox on his religious commentary on Sunday that if a church isn't making the person feel judged, guilty in the pew, then that church isn't doing a good job and is not a Christian.
Oh, I used to believe that.
And I thought,
if I didn't preach and crying, I didn't do my job.
Yeah. So here we go. This is nuts. And this is what now I'm getting it. If we're spiritually thinking that we're ascending, awaking, going to a higher level, but we still have this negative image about ourselves, well, we stink.
We do.
So I got a campaign. Let's not stink anymore.
Stop stinking.
Stop that stinking thinking,
So I
right?
just had something profound to say, and it slipped out of my head.
Uh-oh. Got to get it back.
I know. Darn it.
It'll come. It'll come. So
you think it really is, and people talk about this war in heaven. Maybe this is what they're seeing.
yeah, could be. Yeah. Listen,
But what about the people, Wayne, that just don't like Donald Trump? What do you say to those people that just think he's a absolute pig of a human being? How could divine benevolent forces be using Donald freaking Trump?
well, here's what I say to all those who take that position. If you can't walk in forgiveness and cannot be acceptant and cannot be a comfort to one another, then you have to ask yourself, then what are you standing for?
But didn't even the scriptures say that the divine has chosen the weak and foolish and thuggish things of the world to manifest themselves in? That's straight from the scripture.
Yeah, and I tell you, in my decades and decades, and I'm an ordained minister, not anymore. I said, "Head guy, you're out." But anyway, here's the point: is that I've also found, as with Jeremiah, of all the prophets that God sent to Israel, that the prophets were rejected, and even when they had a good king, it was the tendency for the tribes to come together and to somehow or another get a bad guy in there.
Yeah.
So I think that they're just so opposed to a man that they can't outthink him. This is the thing about it. It's so frustrating to them. They can't outthink this guy. And then I look at this cleansing that's taking place. And I think when Heidi and I were talking, that's what I see taking place, is that there's a cleansing here going on. Trisha G was talking about that as well. Something is being compressed, Jeff, that is now doing something that maybe we're part of this.
Yeah.
But think about it. What are the odds that you would find the mole inside your own agency, your own law enforcement agency?
Isn't that amazing? And think about this, for at least 2 years. How many Democratic operatives have been scouring through Trump's background with the finest of fine-tooth combs, and for 2 hours, 2 years, sorry, Rooney, for 2 years, they still haven't been able to find any dirt on this guy. Do you realize how squeaky clean he must be?
Well, he ran a business. I mean, no one wants to get audited, and he ran publicly traded company. Yeah, someone says he went bankrupt several times. Well, guess what? A lot of people have. Disney.
Personally, he never went bankrupt. He used
bankruptcy corporation. Laws. Yeah, to protect the shareholders.
Yeah, exactly.
And in every one of those cases, except for one, I think that there was actually a loss. So, it's a shame. I didn't like Obama. I didn't trust the guy. He stood everything that I was against, and I didn't like that. But I did not go and vilify the man. I respected the fact that the man was in the office. I respected the office of the presidency.
That's over. That's gone.
No.
Democrats don't do that anymore.
No, there's no more civility in this.
Which is sad.
Yeah. So, my attitude is that, all right, so we got a guy from the other team now who's at the head of the table. All right. If he does a good job, he'll be back there for 4 more years. Who knows? Maybe he'll say, I've had enough. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope that, listen, if he succeeds, everybody succeeds. I think he absolutely averted the war with North Korea. I really do. I think that the Chinese said, we don't know what Donald Trump will do, but one thing we do know, he plays a mean hand of poker.
Yep. I'm not sure Donald Trump knows what Donald Trump's going to do from one moment to the next.
Maybe not. I mean, many great thinkers and CEOs, that's how you have to do it, but a strategist.
Yeah, somebody in the chat room makes the point, the locker room talk is the worst thing they could bring out on him in 2 years. That was Dean Winchester.
Well, and
And
what
should
did
he have
they?
said that? No. But if that's the worst thing, I tell you what, you go back over my last 2 years and you will find worse things about me than you did about Donald Trump.
I mean, Donald Trump to me is like, he's a good guy. Let him do his job. And if you don't like him, then go out and vote for the other. That's what I don't understand. So, what is it that the people? I've asked this people before. What is it that you
Red
don't like?
Roof Ranch, the bottom line is that you're not telling the truth. Trump used existing laws in those bankruptcies. Don't start talking about him not paying his bills when all of us have used laws and put laws and have leveraged laws to our benefit. And you've made your point. If you want to stay in the chat room, please stop.
I see someone said that tried to sue the NFL. Let me tell you something about the NFL.
He actually successfully sued the NFL. They won the suit. They proved that the NFL was a monopoly
Yep.
and were awarded damages.
Yeah, because he actually had what was
the
it?
damage United States Football League, but
That
the
wasn't it.
damages was $1.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you buck City Hall.
Well, I can't figure out how the NFL is actually a charity, nonprofit.
Nonprofit. That's crazy. And I'm convinced it's scripted now, but that's another whole thing.
So, good Lord, we've been at this a long time. But yeah, I think that I'll contend with this, Jeffrey. I am convinced more than anything else that what we have going on here is revelation. Revelation that is coming to us in a manner that I think so many people have prepared themselves for this mental thing. They were saying that a Pew study and,
Right.
that Islam is now overtaking Christianity and people in America that are converting.
Guess what the number one name for male children in England is?
I don't know.
Muhammad.
Well, there you go. Well, there you go.
That's scary, folks.
Well, that's how that happens. And
yeah.
So, I keep on asking people, so what is it you don't like about the guy? I mean, let me tell you, I didn't think that Bush was an embarrassment.
He was. People don't like it when you win all the time, Wayne. And when you're always right, they don't like it.
Envyitis of the biggest kind. Yeah, it is. Well, I'm just telling you, my friend, we have a new American hero.
And Trump keeps winning and winning and winning.
Hey, listen, if he does what I think is about to happen in the Midwest, holy cow, Batman. The Midwest has not seen anything like this since the Reagan era. And listen, I lived in St. Louis in the Reagan era, and the thing that brought St. Louis back from the pit of hell, the depression that it was in because of Carter, and the way that the city hall was run by the Democrats, was because of what Reagan had back then was enterprise zones. And for companies,
yep, I remember those.
Yeah. And for companies like mine, we could bring investors in, and we got tremendous, for every employee that we hired, we got a 2-year tax exemption, both at the state and the federal level. So for employers, that was an immediate 35% net ROI back to the bottom line.
Yep.
It's almost what Trump has done in this tax bill. And I'm telling you what, we went through an unprecedented, that prosperity lasted all the way into the Clinton administration when Bill Clinton left.
Yep, that's for sure. I tell you what, Wayne, I'm not sure that I would want Donald Trump dating my daughter, but I'm sure liking him as my president.
I'm not marrying the guy, It's like this. I don't want to live in his house. I just like the dude,
And I shook hands with the guy. I've looked him in the eye. I've had a 10, 15-minute conversation with him, and I believe him.
He's a good man, Like, listen, he makes some really good skyscrapers.
He does.
He
does.
They're built well. I mean, same thing. If you want to stay at a good hotel, stay at a Trump property.
They're very nice.
I mean, he defines elegance. I heard
and
today.
This 2018 is going to be one of the best years in our recent memory.
I think so. This is just the peak. It's changed in my life, my wife's life. The thing that was negative that has been hitting us for the last 2.5 years, I can tell a story right now that something that was negative that was meant to hit us, boom, brother. I'm talking about it had a boomerang effect. And it's happening more and more and more. I think the
So does
same.
the stock market keep going up, Wayne?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that we'll have a few corrections, but it's now at the point where you're starting at 26. Once you start getting at 27,000 Dow, I mean, I don't know. You know, all the forecasting models are wrong. The Treasury forecasting models are wrong. The Fed really doesn't know what to do because if we start seeing 4.5, 5% sustained growth, um, I think it's a new ballgame.
Does Trump move to audit the Fed?
Boy, I don't know about that one. It would be, wow.
He probably doesn't. He probably just lets things go as they are.
Well, I mean, listen, I think if the Republicans can retain both houses, I think it will allow Donald Trump the last 2 years of his presidency to put through the reforms that is needed to be. And
Watch the king of debt go to work, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe
yeah,
right off into the sunset after 4 years.
listen, he hates debt, and the thing that we've got right now is, well, we all know it. And I hope this 1.5 billion infrastructure proposal. I like how he's approaching it. 50% coming from the private sector, 50% from the federal government. The only thing I don't like about that is that when you start letting private companies start building roads, their contracts will typically run 35, 50 years, in which these then become toll roads. And the only problem I have with that type of structure is that then if you're going to be taxing the people, in other words, to pay for the construction, then it needs a strict audit process that when the company hits the break-even point, the federal government should then reduce that. If, let's say, you have to commune and you're paying an additional $30, $40 a week, we should be able to take that off of our taxes to take it against the gasoline tax.
Wayne, have you ever seen a toll come off a road in your life?
Hell no.
Never.
They only go up.
The only thing that worries me about Trump, I don't like the way that he coddles up to the religious right, but I mean, that's probably just keeping a base firm. And what do you think about what's this whole thing about national 5G?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. If he's putting it under the Communications Act, who knows? I mean, he sees what the concern is that if you can come in, mandate 5G everywhere, that would then have the effect of rising up every area of the United States to begin to be able to have access to the technology.
And think about the jobs that creates when those businesses have to go out and build all the 5G.
Well, you're talking probably 100,000 or more new communication workers that would have to be able to go out, particularly when you start looking
So how long can the communication workers of America not support Donald Trump when these things are going on?
I don't know. I think they're going to have a conundrum.
I think they are.
I mean, what do you want to do? You want to go back to Barack Obama? Listen, as Trump said yesterday, he has eliminated in his first year nearly, I think it was 30,000 regulations from the Obama left over.
Yeah.
As he calls, these are nothing more than business tax. So
true.
when you start, what most Americans don't realize is that in 2010, when we passed the TARP Act, that was $1.8 trillion, Jeffrey, that was supposedly going to shovel-ready jobs that never materialized. And we're still asking, what happened to the $1.8 trillion? Where did it go?
Yeah.
No one's asking that. But anyway.
So you think it's off-world entities, good and bad, locked in a battle?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. I think that there is something Yeah, I really do.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah,
Interesting times that we live in.
it is. It is, my friend.
Interesting times that we live in.
Well, I think it's only going to get more interesting. I really do. I think we're going
And,
to
you
see.
know, I know some of you out there don't like Donald Trump,
Well,
but as things get better and better and better, you might find yourself and your opinions changing a little bit. You don't have to like Donald Trump to like what's happening in the country.
no, you know. Listen, I like Barbara Streisand acting and her voice. I hate her politics.
Oh, I could, yeah,
I don't. I mean, I still say "What's Up, Doc" is a great movie. I like that movie. Warren Beatty's in it. It's not Warren Beatty. Who's the other guy? This anyway. But so the point
Does Hillary
is,
have clones, Wayne? Is there more than one Hillary?
boy, that we do know. Yeah, she used at
She has
least.
doubles for
Yes,
sure.
yeah, we know of at least two that she was using. Yeah,
So Trump probably has some doubles as well, right?
probably.
Be hard to find a double for him. He's kind of a big guy. That's interesting.
Well, the thing that most people don't realize is that when he's going on stage here in the United States, now he did not have this when he was over in Davos. So I thought that was really interesting when he gave his speech. He wears a bulletproof vest.
That's why he looks kind of
Yeah,
paunchy.
yeah, that's why it's exactly what happens. I mean, he looks like he's big in the midsection. He's not. He's wearing a bulletproof vest, folks. And I'm glad he
Interesting.
is.
Interesting. So do you think most presidents were wearing bulletproof vests, or is he the first one?
I think he's the first one I know of. I heard that
Wow.
Bush had. I heard that Barack had a real problem.
Well, the hope with Bush was if they shot him, it'd hit him in the head, so it wouldn't do any damage.
Go wing. Yeah, but no, he's the first one I've seen. And,
Remember that guy threw the shoe at him?
Yeah, boom.
No, but the stupid part was the guy throws a shoe at him, and he ducks, and then he sits up and goes, like, oh, you got another one? What a freaking moron. Great guy to drink with, but you don't want him anywhere near the nuclear button.
Best quote ever is after the inauguration of Donald Trump. George W.'s comment. That was some weird shit up there.
I had a conversation with him too, and he is just that nutty, weird.
I have to.
That's who he is.
Oh, I met him, and he was at a conference I was at. Anyway, yeah.
Good grief, that's who he is.
Some weird shit up there.
And you know that he was just in the Oval Office playing with a paper football while Dick Cheney was running things.
Oh, I'm just wondering what they actually gave him while he was sitting up there on the electron. Oh, that's just funny. All right.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that was good stuff. So,
thank you, everyone. Good to see everybody.
and will we be back on Sunday? Someone's asking.
Yeah.
George Senior. Somebody asked. No, we're talking about W.
Yeah. No, George Senior was the smart one. I tell you what, that was one mean son of a bitch.
I worked with Pat Buchanan for a while, and Pat had the classic line about George W.
What was that?
We're sitting around and Pat says, W is not even a bush, he's a shrub. So from then on, Pat called him the shrub, and they finally to give Pat a speaking slot at the convention. They made him promise that he wouldn't call him the shrub anymore.
I'm glad I got out of politics. I was really in it. Most people, I actually had one guy do some, looked at my background on LinkedIn.
Somebody says Melania has a double.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'd like to meet her.
I belong to one of the most conservative groups in America. And some strange stuff.
That was some strange stuff up there.
I'll have to tell you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on Sunday. If you have any questions, Jeffrey Dart or Christian Whistleblower at gmail.com, our Wayne Steiger channel. And
Thursday night.
What happens Thursday night?
Artist First Network.
That's tomorrow night.
Yeah, the Steiger Perspective, 8:00.
Oh wow.
Gonna have you on. We haven't. you've been busy here. I mean, and I
Not
guess
tomorrow night, right?
that's no. I was thinking
Oh, okay.
about the week after that. Yeah.
I forgot about something.
No. Your reality is still the same.
I don't know, Wayne. So you really think reality
Yes,
changed?
I do. I absolutely do. And we'll
But we
talk
were
about
aware that it changed. You're saying Hillary was aware. Somebody said, "Oh,
yeah,
change of plans."
yeah. I listen. We'll have to have a discussion sometimes. I think this is what Daniel saw.
Really?
We'll have to get into that a little bit more. But as I get back to my theology studies, I think that that's maybe what he saw when he
Well,
said
he
that.
did see the Mandela effect, and he
Yeah,
did see the rise of AI.
he did.
There's no doubt about it. And he did see that the diviners that were in league with the Christ would ultimately win the day.
So I think he may have witnessed. Now, how does you know, um, third century BC man see?
It was 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know, but he did a pretty good job describing everything else.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
All righty then, ladies and
All right,
gentlemen. We
folks.
will see you next time.
Thank
Thanks
y'all.
for being here and unindoctrinate.